Time being 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. So there's three that we know are going to be continued, so we can quickly take those.
Want to do the minutes first?
Do we have minutes? Then,
Yes, I do.
Yes.
oh, no.
Three of them. I got three.
I did not see those minutes. All right. Can I have a motion, or is there any discussion about the minutes?
I have none.
All right.
Nope.
So I'll just be honest, I did not see these and I did not read them. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for March 2nd, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, so moved. Make the motion.
Oh, yeah. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will abstain from this. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes for March 23rd, 2022?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I will also abstain from that. And could I have a motion to approve the April 20th, 2022 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and once again, I will not vote on that. All right, so then moving on to agenda item D, could I have a motion to continue request for certificate of compliance, Dalton and Feingold LLP of Andover, Massachusetts, 51 Fraser Lane, Assessors Map 25, Lot 73, DEP file number 305-711 to the next meeting?
That's a typo. It's 21 Fraser Lane, but
Oh, it's 21 Fraser Lane. Could I have a motion to that effect? Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion to continue public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineations, Bales and Associates, Inc., on behalf of Holton Bugby Company, 1600 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 112, Lot 4, DEP file number 305-1163 to the next meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
O is 21 Fraser Lane as well.
All right. And could I have a motion to continue request for certificate of compliance, Dalton and Feingold LLP of Andover, Massachusetts, 21 Fraser Lane, Assessors Map 25, Lot 73, DEP file number 305-903 to the next meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Now on to agenda item A, emergency certification, Hyder Building Associates of Tewksbury, Mass., 13 Catamount Road, Assessors Map 64, Lot 44. Is there anybody here for that, or Joe, would you like to speak on this?
Yep. So this is a homeowner trying to tie into the municipal sewer system. I went out to do a site visit. They were 94 feet away from a nearby wetland. But they had received a failed Title V from a Title V inspector. Subsequently, the health department issued an order for them to tie into the town sewer system, which then I ordered an emergency certification for them to tie into the town sewer system with the conditions that they establish erosion and sediment controls and have me do an inspection prior to construction relative to the erosion and sediment controls. And that is it.
All right. Any discussion on this?
I have none. I have none.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve the emergency certification for Hyder Building Associates of Tewksbury, Mass., 13 Catamount Road, Assessors Map 64, Lot 44?
I'll make that motion to ratify.
To ratify, sorry. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item B, request for certificate of compliance, Daniel Johnson, 21 James Street, Assessors Map 61, Lot 8, DEP file number 305-1059. Is there anybody here for that? Could you please come up and introduce yourself? for the record.
I'm Dan Johnson, 21 James Street, Tewksbury.
And what do you plan on doing?
So the original plan was to build a new house on the same property at 21 James Street, and when the property was complete, to raise the existing structure. My wife and I decided not to proceed with the project.
All right. Joe, do you have any notes that you would like to talk about?
Sure. So the order of conditions for this project was issued by the Conservation Commission in September of 2018. This is essentially for an anticipated property transaction where there needs to be a clear title, hence the need to obtain a certificate of compliance. I did a site visit there. I confirmed that there was no work done at the site. It's the existing conditions as shown on the site plan approved are essentially what's there, so there's no work done. So the way that the commission would approve of this is to issue the certificate of compliance with the provision that it's an invalid, like verifying that it's an invalid order of conditions at this point, which effectively closes out this permit. And if anyone wanted to execute this project, if he changed his mind, or if anyone else wanted to execute this project, they would not be able to do so.
All right, they would
Unless they
not be-
file a new notice of intent.
Reapplying and going through the whole. Okay.
Okay.
So Joe, my only question, looking through the document, is special condition 1. It says stop mowing and allow the vegetation to regrow. I know the project didn't happen, but it almost seems like it's not a violation order per se, but it's almost like work was being done before this was issued.
Sure.
So I just want to make sure that that condition, even though the rest of the project didn't happen, that condition's met.
Okay.
Page 9 and 12.
Right. I just want to read the exact language there.
Yeah. It was just something I noticed. Everything else is standard. That was just a special condition section.
Okay, so I think this is section 1 that is within the wetland. Oh, that is within the wetland shall stop. Can I ask if you know what that condition is in reference to?
It's been a couple of years, so as I recall, out behind the house, there was an area that was actually used to be dry. But the water tables had changed a little bit in that pond that resides behind the lot. So at the time, we were still trying to mow back there before having applied for permits and the plan and all that in 2018, and we've since stopped.
Okay. It's without it being referenced, like a specific.
So you went out there, so you saw
Yeah.
the site visit, right? So did it look like everything was regrown?
Yeah,
according to the site plan.
It looks like where the wetlands are delineated is where the boundary roughly looks, just based off memory. I've also been out to the site for a different scenario regarding a beaver complaint. So I've been to the property before, I believe earlier this year, or maybe late 2021.
Yeah, late last year.
So
Beavers moved in.
yeah, so there's no changes from, when I inspected back then. So I would say that condition doesn't pose an issue at this point.
Okay, perfect.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I have none. Doesn't look like anything's been done. I assume you're trying to sell the house?
Correct.
Okay. I want to hold them up on that.
And Joe, what were you saying about it would void the,
So when the commission issues a certificate of compliance, there's 3 options, or maybe 4. You can issue a partial for a part of the project, verifying that this part of the project is complete. You can issue a complete, saying the entire project is complete. You can issue a invalid, which is what I described, saying that it recognizes that no work has been done, and also it's kind of meant for things like this to clear property title. And then there's a fourth option where you can say a project is complete, but you can also verify, or you can also attach ongoing conditions that are meant to be sustained in perpetuity. So,
So it will all be written up in the,
in the form.
yeah, all right. All right, in that case, could I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for Daniel Johnson, 21 James Street, Assessors Map 61, Lot 8, DP file number 305-1059, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Request for certificate of compliance, AJM Development, 15 Starbird Ave subdivision, DEP file number 305-998. Is there anybody here for that? Were we expecting somebody to be here?
I don't think so, but
Should we table it, or can we discuss it without them present?
I'd rather not discuss it without them present.
All right.
yes.
I have a feeling we're going to be continuing it.
All right,
Yeah, I think we can probably just continue.
yeah,
I think we've seen this about 4
Yeah,
or
I
5
mean,
times.
if anything, if they were to show up, there's still ongoing, there's like an ongoing drainage issue.
All right.
So if anything, it'd be a, like an update.
all right, so could I have a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Agenda item E, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, Tewksbury Department of Public Works, properties along Assel Street, Old Boston Road, E Street, Livingston Street, and North Street. Is there anybody here for that?
There's not, but if you want, I can talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
This is a project from the Tewksbury DPW. It's, actually, let me just pull up the exact language here. So it's roadway resurfacing across multiple different roads within Tewksbury. So they've proposed to, put silt fences along any areas near wetlands and put silt sacks within any catch basins. I really don't have anything more than that. It's just roadway resurfacing work. Obviously, some of the work occurs near wetlands, so hence why it's in front of us, but
So doesn't this go back to the last meeting where, they provided a map with no details or anything associated with this project?
this is the first time this is being,
This project, I was saying last meeting, we talked about having proper plans with locations of where everything's gonna be. This is just lines on a map
Yeah.
without showing where the wetlands are or where the erosion controls will be set. Is that something that we should ask for?
that's up to the commission. This is, like, some of this work would be considered an exempt activity under WPA.
Some of it or all of it?
I would need
All of it is, I agree that we can this is more informational, but I think for every other project the town's presented, it's shown erosion controls, it's shown the wetlands, making sure that they're in the proper places.
Yeah, so it's like, whenever the engineering department in particular presents a project, I think they have like the site plans that we typically see. I think this is just a project that was proposed by DPW, so it's not like coming from the same place.
But it's just replacing roads, there's no new roads. It's just
Yes,
replacing.
roadway
existing.
resurfacing.
So we're grinding and putting new stuff down.
Right,
Milling
so
and paving.
that's
Yeah.
a public necessity anyways.
So hold on, I just want to pull up the WPA stuff.
I agree with you, Evan, it's just,
It doesn't really tell me anything, but if it's exempt, I'm fine with moving forward with an exempt project, just informational, but I don't know where the wetlands are, I don't know, kind of, there's
So-
obviously no stockpile or anything, but there's still impacts.
So under the WPA, an exempt activity is pavement repair, resurfacing, and reclamation of existing roadways within the right-of-way configuration.
I say we move on,
Provide-
right?
Yeah, so just so the commission is clear though, it's, this isn't exempt under our bylaw, so hence why they have to file the RDA.
Okay.
But otherwise, it would be, like if, for example, if our bylaw adopted this exemption, they'd probably just provide us like a courtesy notification saying, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna take into account erosion and sediment controls. Similar to how National Grid knows they're exempt.
We want to encourage the town to fix the roads, right?
So we should probably remove that from the bylaws then, making.
Add it to,
Oh,
add it to the bylaw?
I thought you said there's a bylaw making it not exempt, if it's exempt in WPA.
Yeah, it's exempt in the WPA, it's not exempt, it's not included as an exempt activity in the bylaw. There's a lot of,
Gray areas like that.
Yeah.
well, yeah. But. So,
I'm fine with this being an exempt activity, it's just kind of making sure that that's protocol,
yeah, that's fair.
especially if it's under WPA, so that's something if it needs to be added to the bylaw, I think that's something that we should work on, like we talked about.
What do we adopt the WPA as the governing body on that?
It already,
Yeah, wouldn't it have to be explicitly in the bylaw that it's not an exempt activity if it's already an exempt activity?
The bylaw explicitly says whatever is not listed here, or whatever is not listed here is not considered an exempt activity in the
Oh, so that needs to be changed.
Yeah, got it, okay.
my only concern is that this is a public hearing, but the applicant is not actually here. So I'm not sure exactly what the best method is. Is that required, or can we open it up and if nobody comes forward?
I just open it up.
Open it up and,
Yeah.
yeah. Can we approve it today if they're not here?
Yep.
All right, so, the
I didn't
hearing-
realize there was a requirement that they had to be here.
There's not, I'm more concerned with if anybody has a question,
Gotcha.
I mean, they are directing it towards the commission, but typically,
Have them talk to Joe.
Yeah.
Right.
I will open up the public hearing if there's anybody here who would like to make a question or comment, but not seeing anybody. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. And now, could I have a motion to approve the,
Negative.
I'm sorry. Could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability for Tewksbury Department of Public Works properties along Assel Street, Old Boston Road, East Street, Livingston Street, and North Street, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, now on to agenda item F. This is public hearing, a request for determination of applicability, Jim Regan, 882 South Street, Assessors Map 98, Lot 113. Is there anybody here for that?
No, but I can talk about it if you'd like.
Sure.
So this is a attempt to tie into the municipal town sewer system. They're, I believe, like 95 or to 98 feet away from a nearby wetland and maybe 70 feet away from a wetland on the other side of the road. That was just unconfirmed because that was someone else's property. But, nonetheless, there was no failed Title V to accompany the application, so they had to go through the RDA process. So they are just trying to tie into the town sewer system, abandon their septic tank per 310 CMR 15. So if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, I would recommend installing erosion and sediment controls, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and/or staked straw wattles around the area of construction within a Concom jurisdictional area, as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas, and for me to inspect the erosion and sediment controls prior to any construction and approving of the installed erosion and sediment controls.
All right, is there any discussion on this one?
I have no problem with them hooking up the town sewer.
Seems pretty standard. This is a public hearing. I will open it up to the public. If anybody would like to come up and speak, now's your chance. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability, Jim Regan, 882 South Street, Assessors Map 98, Lot 113, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. And agenda item G, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, super service today of Wilmington, Mass. 67 Algonquin Drive, Assessors Map 85, Lot 97. Is there anybody here for that? Or Joe, could you fill us in on the
I can.
details?
So this is essentially the same application as the last one, except it's just closer to the wetlands. They're tying to the town sewer system. They don't have a failed Title V, hence why they're going through the RDA process. They're about 30 to 45 feet away, or 30 to 40 feet away, I believe, from the wetlands in the rear. So again, if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, I would recommend requiring them to install erosion and sediment controls and having me inspect the erosion and sediment controls prior to construction actually commencing.
All right, is there any discussion on this applicant?
Have none.
All right, once again, this is a public hearing. I will open it up to the public. If there's any questions or comments, please go to the podium. But not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability, super service today of Wilmington, Mass. 67 Algonquin Drive, Assessors Map 85, Lot 97, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Agenda item I is public hearing, request to amend an order of conditions, the Engineering Corporation of Lawrence, Mass. On behalf of NCP Holland Burt owner, Assessors Map 115, lots 4, 5, 6, addresses off Route 93, 7, address off South Street land, and 8, address of Route 93 beyond. DB file number 305-1093. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Good evening, Peter Ellison. I'm a civil engineer with TEC representing the applicant.
And what are you planning on doing?
So the commission may remember this project. It was approved about 2 years ago. So I'm here tonight requesting an amended order of conditions. There have been some slight modifications to the site plan. Overall, the size of the project has shrunk by about 40,000 square feet. The larger warehouse building is shrunk by about 10,000 square feet. The purpose of that is to create a second entrance. It's actually within the town of Tewksbury. It helps with marketing and filling the building with tenants because we can now chop the building up into basically 2 separate tenants. From a conservation perspective, the project really hasn't changed much. It's a buffer zone only project. There's no impacts to wetlands, temporary or permanent. Overall, there's a slight decrease in impervious area comparing this plan to the previous version. And all the stormwater systems have remained the same. It was reviewed by the engineering department, and in my opinion, we got a clean letter back from them.
All right, Joe, do you have any words on this?
Yep. I think it's pretty straightforward. As the applicant just stated, the changes pertinent to the Conservation Commission are the decrease in impervious surface, which is a net benefit. It was reviewed by the town engineer, and yes, it did get a letter of approval as far as, no significant changes that will affect compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards. So the commission should be aware of that. Still maintaining compliance. I would recommend, if the commission chooses to issue an amended order of conditions, that it references the new site plans that were presented to the commission and carry over any conditions that were part of the original order.
All right, any discussion on this?
That's pretty straightforward.
I'll open up to the public if there's any questions or comments. Not seeing anybody rise. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the request to amend an order of conditions for the Engineering Corporation of Lawrence, Mass. on behalf of MCP Howland Part Owner, DP file number 305-1093.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Agenda item J, public hearing, notice of intent. Karen Skinner Catroni on behalf of homeowners, 765 Whipple Road, Assessors Map, 31 lots, Lot 57, DP file number 305-1161. Anybody here for that? No? Should we continue this to the next meeting?
I did inform them to come. I was under the they gave me the impression that they would be coming, or a representative would be coming.
All right.
So it's, do you want to table it?
Yeah, let's table it until the end. Next item on the agenda is public hearing, notice of intent, Jeffrey Meador, 90 Terramore Drive, Assessors Map, 33, Lot 74, TB file number 305-1168. Would you please introduce yourself for the record?
Hi, good evening. Jeff Medor, 90 Terramore Drive.
And what do you plan on doing?
So the purpose of the project, so we just moved into this new subdivision in Tewksbury. And so we're looking to start a project in our backyard. The project would, we're looking to have the project consist of an in-ground swimming pool, and around that, obviously, a patio. We're looking to install a privacy fence around the backyard. In addition to that, also putting in some plantings around the yard as well, and also add in about a 10 by 16 shed in the back right side of the yard. And then we're also looking to cut down some trees that are in the back part of the property that are, and the primary purpose for that is around these trees are near the play area for, where the kids are going to be playing. They're close to the house. A lot of the trees seem to be relatively unhealthy or leaning in one direction or the other. So we're looking to have those cut down. And then also in the same similar area to where those trees would be hopefully cut down, there is some brush and some smaller trees that we'd like to clear out and replace with some grass as well. The latter part of that clearing that I just discussed, that's in addition to what we submitted as part of the notice of intent. And then also in addition to that as well, I believe in the plan, we identified about a quantity of approximately 6 trees. In talking with a tree company, there was a 7th tree that we also identified that we'd like to take down that's in the similar area as the others.
Okay. Joe, do you have any notes on this?
Sure. So, as the applicant said, the project is to install an in-ground pool, a portion of which is located in the no-build zone, installing a patio, a portion of which is located in the no-build zone, but is not considered a structure under the bylaw. So that wouldn't apply as far as, calculating the square footage of the patio. Installing a shed, a 10 by 16, which will be located in the no-build zone. Several trees that are located on the 25-foot no-disturb zone boundary or further, most of which are further. Planting trees, all of which are outside the 25-foot no-disturb zone, and installing a fence that goes up to the 25-foot no-disturb zone. So, as far as compliance with the 25-foot no-disturb zone and the 50-foot no-build zone setbacks in our bylaw, the applicant, according to the bylaw, you can encroach, but not, it should not exceed 10%. And I believe, do you have that calculation as far as?
Correct. So when we look at the total size of both the shed, which would be considered a structure within the no-build zone, plus the encroachment that we're estimating for the pool, it was about 7% encroachment in total, to ensure that we're staying below the 10% threshold.
Okay.
So what is the total area that is the no-build zone, total square footage?
I don't have that off the top of my head on what that total dimension is. If I were to guess, based on if I'm trying to recall some of the math, I would say it was on the order of 3,500 square feet or so that's in that area. But again, that's just off the top of my head.
Just from the diagram itself, it looks like you're well within the 10% because you only got a corner of the pool and the shed.
Right, exactly. And that would be worst case. I mean, these plans, because we're still trying to figure out the final design, which would be reflected, of course, in the as-built, but that would almost be worst case, so we're trying to at least plan for that depending on what the final designs look like.
Okay. And so, was there any proposed clearing, or was it just limited to the 7 trees?
So the clearing, so there would be, we'd like to do some clearing as well. So there is some brush and some very small trees. They're like, 3 to 4 inches in diameter that are, and all the clearing would be all outside of the no disturb zone as well. So along the back part of the property up to the rear lot line, it's probably, around 10 feet to go. So the lot, because it's a new development, they've already cleared out, obviously, a good part of the lot. We'd like to just extend the clearing to the rear lot line on the back, and then on the back right and on the side, we would like to clear up to the no disturb. So it's in the area of where those trees that we'd like to cut down would be located. And what we'd like to do is replace that area with grass to be consistent with the rest of the yard.
Okay, so is there clearing?
So all the trees that are being cut down are in the 50-foot no-build zone, correct?
No, so there would be, all of the trees are within the 100-foot, but I would say there's 1, maybe two trees or so that are in the no builds. The rest would be outside of the no build, but still within the 100-foot buffer.
But there's nothing within the 25-foot.
Correct. There's one that's right on the line. It's probably about 3 to 5 feet outside of the no disturb, but it is outside of it.
The old pine tree?
With the exception of 3. So there are seven trees in total that we're going to cut down. 4 of them are pine trees, and I believe 3 of them are oak trees. 2 of them are leaning pretty significantly, and the other one looks pretty dead, in my opinion. But
The pines are so dangerous,
right, there are big limbs, kind of hang off it. Some of them are split, some of them are leaning, and with they're just they do sway quite a bit right where the play area is going to be, and they're very close to the house. So that's why we like to cut them down.
So, if the commission were to allow clearing up to the 25-foot no disturb zone, I would just recommend as a condition to measure out where the 25-foot
Of course.
no disturb zone is, going up to that, and then including that on this as-built as far as, where the tree line is once it's all done. Just to verify that it's actually, you didn't do anything up to the 25-foot.
Correct.
I mean, are you opposed to giving like a little bit of a buffer just so it's not like, 24 feet? Just because I imagine there might be some encroachment if you're trying to go right up to the 25-foot.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if there's a certain buffer that we'd like to to have in there, I mean that makes sense. I mean there are it was previously flagged. The flags are all still there and very visible, so we do have a verified point of reference to measure from. But if we need to go beyond that so that the commission is comfortable with that, I mean, yeah, whatever makes sense from the commission standpoint.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Is there a specific value that you, like a specific buffer from the 25?
I mean, because in that area, I think we're looking to just go in the area where the no disturb is, I think from where it's cleared to where the no disturb would start, it's only about 10 feet that we'd like to go into that area. So it's not much further than where it is now, but we'd like to clear out as much as we possibly could. But if there is a specific value that you'd like us to adhere to in terms of going beyond the 25-foot, absolutely, we'll do that.
I mean, that was just an idea. It's obviously up to the commission if you want to allow it going up to the 25, or if you want a little bit of a buffer, or...
Buffer's feasible. There's no reason not to kind of have a buffer set in place. Since you put the bylaw in front of me and highlighted, I have questions now. So this shed would be considered a structure for this project? Correct. And then the line below pretty much says when unavoidable. Is there a reason why the shed has to go there and not on the other side of the patio? I guess just to kind of answer that.
From a setback standpoint, it would be, so we have to have a 10-foot setback from the side of the yard. And so based on where the pool design is and where the patio would extend out to, we wouldn't have the available space on the other side in order to fit the shed. That actually was my preference, but to put it over there, but based on the setback requirements, we wouldn't have that option.
Okay.
So again, is there, like, from the rest of the commission, is there a buffer you want to go with, or do you want to allow clearing up to the 25-foot if it's going to be surveyed on an as-built plan?
So let's throw out 5 feet. Is that too much, or is that too little, or are you comfortable with a 5-foot additional buffer?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if that
They'd be
makes-
measuring 30 feet off.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
So if the commission were to issue an order of conditions for the project, they may do so with the following conditions. Standard conditions number 1 through number 4 and number 9 through number 19. The special conditions consisting of installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and/or staked straw wattles around the area of construction, as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Erosion and sediment control shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. Erosion and sediment control shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed erosion and sediment controls. Soil stockpile shall be covered and properly secured whenever not in use. Soil stockpile shall be surrounded with a silt fence and/or a straw wattle. If dewatering is necessary from the excavation pit for the installation of the in-ground pool, water from the excavation pit shall be appropriately pumped to the dewatering location depicted on the approved plan, which it is shown on the plan. The water shall then be appropriately filtered through an appropriately sized filter bag prior to being discharged onto the ground. The appropriately sized filter bag shall be surrounded by a silt fence or straw wattle. So are you familiar, if dewatering is necessary, basically pumping that water out into a dewatering bag, which filters that water prior to being discharged onto the ground.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's going to be necessary in your case.
Yeah, correct.
Upon completion of construction activities and in order to receive a certificate of compliance, an as-built plan must be submitted that shows all constructed features being proposed under this application relative to the wetland boundary. The as-built must show the proximity with accurate measurements of said structures to nearby wetlands, also, as we discussed, with showing how much you cleared, verifying that the 30-foot setback was respected.
And Joe, just on that, with the 5-foot, I was just looking at the plan here, so with that 5-foot buffer, there is there is a large pine tree that is on the right-hand side that's identified on the plan that is pretty close to that 30-foot line. Is that still okay to take down?
I would,
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
so the request for a certificate of compliance shall be accompanied by photographs of the completed construction. And that is the end of my comments.
And when pools come up, if you have to, drain the pool in any way, don't do it directly into the wetlands.
Right, we'll pitch it away.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, any other questions or comments from the commission?
I have none.
Great.
I mean, a lot going on in a small lot.
Yes.
This is a public hearing, so I will open it up to the public if anybody would like to stand up and introduce themselves and ask questions or comments. But not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent, Jeffrey Meter, 90 Terramore Drive, Assessors Map 33, Lot 74, DP file number 305-1168, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Agenda item L, public hearing, notice of intent, Norris Environmental Services, Inc., on behalf of David Woolaver, 61 Briarwood Road, Assessors Map 18, Lot 121, DP file number 305-1167. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
Morning, Norris Environmental Services. Here with me tonight is the homeowner, Mr. David Woolaver. I'm just passing out public plans, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to read. So we filed a notice of intent with the commission to construct an addition, raise and rebuild a deck, extend a driveway, remove retaining wall, restoration plantings, remove stone, install a post and rail fence, rooftop infiltration, grading, and associated utilities within the 100-foot buffer zone. On the plan, the green highlighted area, that's the wetland. The orange highlighted area, those are the erosion controls. The 25-foot no disturb is a brownish color, yellow. 50-foot no build is in the pink, and then the 100-foot buffer is yellow. So essentially, almost the entire lot's within the 100-foot buffer zone. We are requesting the commission to consider a waiver from your 50-foot no build. As you can see from the plan, the addition is proposed 31 feet at the closest point. The total no build zone is 5743 square feet, and we're proposing 663 square feet or 11.5% increase. The commission does allow 10%. We are providing or proposing to extend the no build towards the rear for that 663 square feet. In addition, we are requesting a waiver to perform some of the work within the 25-foot no disturb. And in lieu of these proposals, we are proposing to improve the lot by providing mitigation plantings along the 25-foot no disturb. There's an existing crushed stone pad that's within the 25-foot no disturb that will be removed. We're also proposing a post and rail fence so that no disturb is permanently protected and marked. We can provide some signage on the posts of the fence as well. Interesting enough, this wetland, at least where the crushed stone is, where you can see the tree line ending, it functions more as a drainage area more than anything else. It's within a paper street, and it is a drainage easement itself. And that portion of the wetland is actually maintained. And it flows into a 18-inch flared-in section and then connects into a drain manhole into the roadway. And I can open it up to the commission with any questions.
Joe, do you have any comments?
Sure. All right, so a lot of this comes down to compliance with the no disturb zone and no build zone setbacks. So I think first and foremost, they already propose a waiver for the 25-foot no disturb zone for the extension of a driveway, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So under the bylaw, our bylaw would allow that under the following condition as a waiver. Where the strict application of this, so I'm reading off the bylaw, where the strict application of this bylaw or the rules and regulations adopted by the Tewksbury Conservation Commission, owing to the shape or topography of the applicant's property, would impose severe economic hardship as defined either in statute or case law on the applicant, taking into account an investment-based expectation, or when a waiver would serve a substantial public benefit, the commission may, at their sole discretion, grant a waiver from the dimensional requirements of the no disturb zone, no build zone, and allow impacts on the wetland areas protected by this bylaw. Later in the same paragraph, it says this exemption shall not apply to property where the applicant, owner, or predecessors entitled to the property created the hardship or rendered the property unusable by their own actions. So as far as the encroachment into the 25-foot no disturb zone, to allow that to occur, that waiver would need to be exercised. And if that waiver is exercised, this might also apply to the waiver for the no build zone, to waive that as well, as long as it's in compliance with that phrasing. Because we could get into a discussion about the 10% as a guideline, whether the commission talks about or considers whether they meet the 10% rule or not, but this waiver seemingly allows to supersede that if at the discretion of the commission.
So if I might just point out, so where the 25-foot, where we're proposing to encroach within that for the driveway extension, that currently is an area of lawn, and it's also an area of crushed stone, as shown on the plan. And where the driveway extension is for the addition, that's to provide access to a garage under. So the thought was, because it's not wooded, it's been used as lawn, it's been used as an area of crushed stone, we could improve the overall 25-foot no disturb by installing the post and rail fence, removing the remaining stone, and doing the plantings. So I think there may be some consideration of improving the overall 25-foot than what's existing there right now.
I mean, anybody else typically coming more into, replication of the actual wetland? Have we ever done improvements or replication of the 25 or 50-foot zones?
I think we have. But if it's improving it, I don't have a problem with it.
And in addition to that, we are providing infiltration for the addition as well.
So, as the commission ponders that, allowing alteration within the no disturb zone, no build zone. So the rest of my comments are, I like the idea of improving the 25-foot no disturb zone. I did a site visit out to the property. There is an area in between, I believe, wetland flag 4A and 5A. That is just lawn clippings that have been deposited there.
We talked about that, yeah.
So if there's any sort of approval, including a condition, which I talked to the applicant about and is willing to do so, to just restore that area, remove what's ever there and put it back into an upland area. I think it's shown in a photo.
Yeah.
But
Photo 2.
I'm just curious what the commission's thoughts are on, the no build zone, no disturb zone.
I don't have a problem with the no disturb zone if it's going to improve it.
What about the no build?
It's only 1.5%, if these numbers are accurate. And what do you have up the top there, proposed no-build buffer?
Yeah, so because we're requesting a waiver, we were going to extend the no-build buffer, that 663 square feet difference. So if the commission does approve this in the future, that no-build buffer would be extended and no future work could be built in that area.
And also no build, because you've already taken up your 11%.
Right.
So if you want to put an in-ground swimming pool like the guy did before, that can't happen.
Right.
What's the shed? What's,
That was there when I bought the house 25 years ago.
now it's in front of us.
What's,
Is that,
You know how big that shed is?
yeah, what's the
big is it?
size of it?
Yeah, it's like 10 by 12, something like that.
That's okay.
Structure.
and I mean, just by a quick glance, if this is a plot plan, I mean, what are we, 3 feet off the property line?
Did it already went to this was in front of zoning, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it already received approval?
Yeah, I already had Board of Appeals approval on the whole project.
For the additional no-build zone, I'm curious about, so say we approve that and it's into our order of conditions, is that something that would go on the deed of the property and,
It must, and
For-
in
yeah,
order
for-
to have any effect, it would have to be, so for example, if this is allowed, right? and, you do the construction. When you go for the certificate of compliance, this would be, I guess this would just go on the deed, and this would be referenced whenever future work is done.
If that's the case, then,
Yeah, you don't have the setbacks on this, right? You don't have setbacks there on the drawings. So there's no more room back there.
All right.
You couldn't even put a pool back there. You'd be on your neighbor's yard. You'd be past your thing, so this is done, like you're done there.
yeah.
I mean, and you guys can put it on anything you want. I have no problem with that. So just so you know, the proposed addition is a family suite. I'm gonna retire soon. I'm gonna move into the family suite, give the kid my house to the kid. So I'm gonna be there till I call it a day, and he's gonna be there. So I don't see anybody trying to put anything back there anyways. There's nothing you can do back there.
Is there any reason why the addition can't be shifted a little bit more? And
Yes.
because you're already raising the deck, so you
Great
can move
question.
the stairs.
So the reason I can't shift that back up is because my kitchen is where the hallway is, if you will, or
Yeah.
the walkway goes into my dining room. I can't go up the hill, if you will, or away from the so-called wetlands, because that's my kitchen, and now you're in the kitchen.
But you have that like buffer going off to the left a little bit, like if you just shift, like keep the hallway where it is, but shift the rest of the building, like towards the
Yes,
deck
but
more.
then
I'm just curious
then
of why.
I'm back at plans, and then I'm probably back in front of the Board of Appeals and all that changing, and there's a whole lot of money gonna be spent there too.
Well, but it is a no-build zone. You know,
Right, and we're sensitive to that request, and that's why we tried to come to the commission with a comprehensive plan of extending the no-build zone, restoring the 25-foot, incorporating infiltration into the addition, installing a post and rail fence, and providing plantings. So we essentially wanted to improve the overall site.
no, it's an attempt for a fair trade. I'm with Evan. I understand the hardship of building, but it's a lot.
So, yeah, it comes down to, like, so again, for the driveway, that waiver that I recited earlier would need to be exercised as far as, allowing them to do that, because it's some sort of economic hardship, and the commission finds it reasonable. They can use that same waiver seemingly for the addition, but they could also apply the other part of the bylaw, which talks about the 10% encroachment, and the other stipulations associated with strictly just the no-build zone requirements.
So it's essentially just less than 100 square feet we're asking in addition within the no-build zone. So 10% would be 574, and we're proposing 663. So 90 square feet.
I'm not gonna haggle over 90 square feet.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
So, okay, so that would be exercising the waiver for an economic hardship.
Are you able to extend the actual, wetland replication in any spot?
Well, what we could do is, if you look on the plan, where the tree line stops at the wetland, and then there's like a channel down to the flared-in section, we could add a few more plantings in there, because essentially, right now, it's just kind of a maintained lawn mowed area. We could do plantings on either side of the channel and improve that as well. Put some like high bush blueberry, winterberries, some wildlife habitat friendly plants.
So it's not a exact wetland replication, but would that do you see the benefit in adding that stuff if we were to go and approve this?
And then we could remove the lawn clippings as suggested, and we could put in 2 or 3 shrubs over there as well.
Steve, do you want to voice any concern?
I mean, I don't like it, so.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this
I don't like it at all. I mean, if you shifted the dwelling over, we wouldn't go into the 25 foot because the driveway wouldn't have to extend that. You know, there's, and I do understand the economic hardship, but, you know, chisel the building down. Because shifting it that way just, you know, this is give and take here. And, you know, we have these rules for a reason. That's my opinion.
Evan, do you have any thoughts?
I'm leaning where Steve's leaning. It's just tough because, especially the last line of the bylaw that you read, pretty much the hardship can't be created by the applicant themselves, essentially.
Right.
Well, the existing house itself is within the 50-foot.
Sure,
So,
the proposed addition could have been shifted like we're talking about, and I was just looking, is there a reason why that
Sure.
wasn't
Can
shifted?
I tell you why that happened from the beginning?
Yeah.
So the wetlands, it was an easement. When they did the documents for the building, the proposed design and everything, there is no wetlands that are on Tewksbury's town thing or anything like that. So the gentleman that designed the addition went that way. It got flagged by Joe, I believe, when he went out, because we had to hook up our sewer, because once you're gonna build, we had to get hooked up with sewer. So he had come out and said, we got wetlands, so that's how I wound up here. So that's what happened. So this so-called wetlands was created by an easement that drains off the back property. Behind me, there's a road that comes down to dead ends, and the water runs through my property and your property, through the easement, through this cul-de-sac, if you will, and through the whole thing down. So they didn't realize that this was wetlands when they did all this designing. That's kind of what took place. Because it doesn't show up in the town as wetlands. It shows up as a drainage easement.
The GIS maps don't show this as wetlands?
But, I mean, that doesn't detract from the fact that it's a wetland.
Yeah.
Right, I agree with that, but that's what he was asking, why it didn't why it came to be this way. It's because it wasn't flagged from the beginning.
so I have some maps if you want to see them. This is the Mass GIS map that highlights the lot in red. There's no wetlands shown. And then this is the easement map from the town. In the existing house itself, it was built in 1986. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that predates the bylaws.
Yeah, what?
Predates the bylaws?
I don't know. I don't.
That checkbox, was it built before 86 or after 86 within the application? But this is the proposed addition. This has nothing to do with the original house being built too.
Correct,
So
I understand, I
That
just,
doesn't really affect the
Right, I
matter at
mean,
hand right now.
What I'm seeing is one corner of the house in the no-build zone.
I mean, we're more than happy to provide any additional mitigation to the commission as a consideration.
I mean, at this point, I'm also kind of leaning to one side of that. If it's only 100 feet we're talking about, why can't you reduce your side of it? Why do you have to encroach into, you know, towards the wetlands and can't shift the house over?
So it's about 90 square feet. And as David said, you know, this wasn't highlighted as a wetland, and as you can see on the maps, it's not shown as a wetland. So he started the permitting process paid the architect to do the architectural plans, went to the zoning board of appeals, and it wasn't until Joe notified him it was a wetland. So he obviously has invested immensely into his home. He wants to stay here. It's an in-law suite. And now we're in front of you asking for 90 square feet as a consideration within the no-build zone. If things change, if we need to relocate the 90 square feet so we stay 10%, then he has to go back to the zoning board of appeals. He may have to change the architectural plans, and then go from there. So it does become a financial hardship. And granted, you know, if he knew about the wetlands from day one, maybe it would have been something different.
Yeah, I was going to say, this, you can see the problem. This is what started the whole problem.
Right. I mean, we can certainly extend the no-build to 700 square feet in the back so that the lot gains more area for the no-build. That's not a problem, in addition to the mitigation.
So, this might be an aside, but as far as like proposing or extending that 50-foot no-build zone, that is like seemingly complying with our bylaw because it asks to mitigate that by providing some square footage and extending the no-build zone setback proportionate to whatever you encroach. So that's just kind of like a weird thing in our bylaw that I don't totally understand from an enforcement perspective, because, you know, it would be tough to kind of reference this document without being aware of this particular project.
But this would be referenced in the order of conditions, like
Right,
it's
yeah.
recorded at the registry of deeds. And you could, if the commission was going to approve the project, you could clearly highlight it in the order of conditions that this no-build zone will
Yeah.
remain in perpetuity forever.
Right, yeah. No, I'm just thinking, and this isn't like, I think this is more of something that would need to be addressed in our bylaw. Because like, say a new agent comes in, they have no idea what this project is, they get a building permit, they see that they're greater than 50 feet away from the wetlands as it is today. You know, they're not gonna know to check the building department files or the files that we might have. So it's more of just, I'm just thinking about it from an enforcement perspective. But
Joe, with
it
your
is-
records, I doubt it. I'm sure you keep a tight ship in this town hall, you know?
I hope so.
But if it's on a deed in perpetuity, they should know it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking. They are still being compliant with the bylaws. So I'm just thinking out loud, but it's totally up to the commission to, you know, see if it's worth a waiver or not.
How did you come up with the number that you extended the 50-foot no-build zone by?
So can you see the proposed no-build buffer, 663 square feet from the addition to the rear of the lot? So I just had asked the engineer to extend that no-build, the amount of square footage that we're encroaching.
All right. Joe, do you have any additional?
I have, so I just wanted to lay out the framework from a regulatory perspective from the commission. I think this is kind of the commission's call as far as, you know, whether you guys want to issue a waiver or not, or, you know, work with the bylaw to make sure you're compliant, but also allowing or denying the work. If it is to be approved, I have recommendations, but it seems like that consensus needs to be reached first.
Because I certainly don't want to, there's no reason to deny this right now if there's still time to, you know, redo some plans. But if it's going to be that much of an economic hardship obviously I don't want to force you into that.
It's 90 square feet out of a 20,000 square foot lot. I don't want a big over 90 square feet. It's actually 89 square feet.
I agree.
And
We're not looking at a 90,000 square foot lot, we're looking at the area within the no.
well, that's right, but it's still a
Disturbed
20,000 square foot lot.
You're subtracting the 10% there.
Right.
Right, yeah.
You guys don't all have to be in like a,
Yeah.
5-0 vote either.
I know.
Yeah, I know that, I guess at this point, I'm trying to get the sense of, if we vote right now, it might be denied, but if we continue, we don't have to do that. You could come back to us with additional plans
But
that,
if he comes back to us, now he has to go back to the other guy and back to the other guy and back to the other guy for 90 square feet. I mean, he is a homeowner in town, and I'm not gonna begrudge a homeowner to try and improve his house or his family
Yeah, and the other thing,
for 90 square feet.
he's gonna be living there.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion to approve. Well, it's a public hearing, so I can't make a motion for that, so.
So before anything happens, I would just, if the commission were to issue an order of conditions, I would recommend the following conditions. Installing and maintaining erosion and sediment controls, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and staked straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Erosion and sediment control shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed/loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. Erosion and sediment control shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed erosion and sediment controls. Soil stockpile shall be covered and properly secured whenever not in use. Soil stockpile shall be surrounded with a silt fence and/or straw wattle. If dewatering is necessary from the excavation pit for the installation of an in-ground, I think I'm reading out the wrong one.
No pools.
If dewatering is necessary from the excavation pit for the installation of I guess I wrote it both. For the installation of an addition, water from the excavation pit shall be appropriately pumped to a dewatering location that is at least, 25 to 50 feet away from the nearby wetlands. I know that lot is tight. So the water shall then be appropriately filtered through an appropriately sized filter bag prior to being discharged onto the ground. The appropriately sized filter bag shall be surrounded by a silt fence and/or straw wattle. Upon completion of construction activities and in order to receive a certificate of compliance, an as-built plan must be submitted that shows all constructed features being proposed under this application relative to the wetland boundary. The as-built must show the proximity with accurate measurements of said structures to nearby wetlands. The as-built plan must also show the extent of the restored no-disturb zone, again, if this is all approved. When requesting a certificate of compliance, the request shall be accompanied by photographs showing the restored portion of the no-disturb zone in addition to the completed construction. I also wanted to, again, this is all if this is approved, specify like the amount of shrubs that are being placed in the restoration of the no-disturb zone, like specifying like X amount of shrubs to be planted and like a seed mix proposed or anything like that?
So we show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shrubs,
Okay.
and we're proposing them 15 feet on center.
Okay.
And it was, I just put generically native shrubs just so that when he's ready to plant, he
Sure.
has an option.
Okay. It's not just gonna, it's gonna be a seed mix, correct? Incorporated?
We can do a seed mix, do
Yeah.
like a conservation mix, that's not a problem.
Yeah, okay.
Will you supply what you're telling me right now, if this is approved, so I know what you want?
Oh, no, you only have this.
Because I'm gonna have to try to remember all these
Yeah,
times and
yeah,
be like, what did he say?
I just say that so if it's approved, if they say as discussed, I can not lie to myself
Because I
and
haven't
say
been
that.
writing down all this stuff. I'm like, oh, my head's spinning.
But I would also say wherever these circles are along the post and rail, like how many, like 4 signs of conservation signs to be posted?
That's fine, yeah,
Something like that.
sure.
And then, to maintain that area, or just to leave it alone. In
Right.
perpetuity.
Right, you don't want to touch it.
But again, this is predicated on whether this is approved, which still needs to be decided.
All right, so this is a public meeting. I will open it up to the public if there's any discussion on hand, unless anybody on the commission has further questions or comments. All right, not seeing anybody get up, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent, Norse Environmental Services, Inc., on behalf of David Woolaver, 61 Briarwood Road, Assessors Map 18, Lot 121, DEP file number 305-1167, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank
I
you very much.
appreciate it.
That's,
Technically, don't put too technical. We'll call it that. But shouldn't say all those in favor and those who don't answer. You're all set, right? You know, yeah?
I don't know.
Yes. No, I think that should be what is said for now, but
It can be done if it's like, it's controversy where you go down.
Yeah.
And then you always go last.
yeah.
all right.
If there's controversy, I think.
Yeah. All right, I will keep that in mind next time. Did Dennis recuse himself?
Yes.
All right. Agenda item N, public hearing, notice of intent, Andover Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Kevin O'Brien of O'Brien Homes, Foster Lane, of Poland, Assessors Map 24, Lot 26, DP file number 305-1166. Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Kevin O'Brien from O'Brien Homes. If the board remembers, a couple of weeks ago, we were here. I was here with Dennis Creechy from Andover Consultants. Dennis presented the plan of what we're trying to do up on Foster Lane. We were sent away with a little bit of a list of things that the board required, and we have done those items. There was also a few things that DEP requested, which I believe are also done. I don't want to answer. I think Joe can probably answer that better. If there's anything on the plan that needs to be pointed out for those changes, I can point those out.
Good, any
Sure.
questions or comments?
You want another water, Joe?
I know, gee, that's like,
Listen, hand sign.
Joe's been talking a lot tonight.
That's not
Great.
going to work.
okay. So, based off the last meeting, what needed to be presented to the commission, or the outstanding items rather, were a dewatering plan, adjustments to the site plan with erosion controls, all of which have been modified. Sorry, let me pull up the plans. Did you already continue agenda item M?
Wait, which one?
M, 434 Main Street?
Well, M's already continued.
Yeah, I thought I did.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. My bad.
It's already continued, so.
Sorry.
So some of the ones I remember, if you're looking for them. I know you wanted markers, permanent markers, which we have. I think they're every 30 feet. You had asked about the wetlands that we flagged out here when I was talking about putting the replication over here.
Right.
We had that looked at by
Bill.
Bill
Yep.
Manuel. And I believe that he came back and said the line was fine. And then I think he looked at this a couple of lines over here, and he said that was also fine, so.
The only thing was the erosion and sediment controls to be extended along the driveway.
Up this way.
Yeah, so
We got it
wherever,
on, I think it's on the next plan.
yeah. Yeah,
I think on your plan, I know we changed it.
so, yeah, whether it's shown or not, just wherever there's a buffer zone within that strip, just to put them there as well.
Well, again, you're gonna look at it before we
Yeah.
do anything anyway, so if you say, hey, put in another 20 feet, 30 feet, we're gonna do it another 20 or 30 feet.
So yeah, so the dewatering plan was provided. Bill Manuel did review the remaining wetland line along the western portion of the property. And he came back with a clean letter. There's no adjustments to it. Mass DEP had some comments about accounting for temporary impacts. I talked to the engineer about the project, and he had also issued a letter in response to those comments. And I had actually talked with the Mass DEP analyst who issued those comments, and there's no further issues there because the impacts to the wetlands were already accounted for, so the 4,860 square feet of impacts takes into account temporary and permanent impacts. The existing conditions plan, which is also referenced in Mass DEP's comments, was provided, which was the ORAD site plan, which was approved by the commission. So all in all, I don't have any other comments about the project. I can go into my comments unless the commission wants to state any concerns that they have.
I think we talked this one half to death last time, didn't we?
Right.
Yeah.
And we just needed the homework, lack of better work,
Yeah.
I
better
believe so.
words.
Right. Okay, so here we go. So
Get a recording.
You sure you don't want to fill the water bottle?
yeah,
Get comments
Yeah.
from the public first. Not that there is any, but yeah.
Yes, so this is a public hearing. I will entertain any members of the public coming up. Don't point the cameras to the crowd of people. All right, could I have a,
do you have to close the public?
We will have to close the public hearing. And if we're gonna do the motion, you add all this stuff.
Wouldn't the public want to hear what, you can say it anytime you want,
yeah.
because we as discussed.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter the order you do it in. You can do it in any order.
the public hearing has been opened regardless, so.
Right.
I will close, upon you reading all of that, I will close the public hearing. And then,
Okay.
So start talking.
yeah,
What they can do is say, 1, 2,
Yeah.
A through X.
I just need to say it. Okay, so if the commission were to issue a order of conditions for this project, they may do so with the following conditions. Standard conditions number 1 through number 4 and number 9 through number 19. Special conditions consisting of the following. The wetland replication report and the dewatering plan prepared for the project must be abided by. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary, the implementation of the wetland replication plan should be overseen by a qualified wetland scientist. The wetland replication area shall begin construction at the same time as the excavation from the home and garage foundation begins.
Thank you.
Number 3, an as-built of the wetland replication area should be provided to the Conservation Commission within 30 days following initial completion of the wetland replication area. The as-built should show shrub tree species planted within the wetland replication area, grading, plant spacing, a description of the soil profile, etc. Number 4, the area subject to the wetland replication plan shall achieve at least 75% vegetative growth within 2 growing seasons from when the replication plan is first implemented. Once the replication plan is first implemented, annual monitoring reports shall be submitted to the conservation agent / conservation commission thereafter. Monitoring reports should summarize activities conducted to date relative to the replication plan and what additional monitoring / activities may be needed in order to achieve at least 75% vegetative growth. If sufficient vegetative growth is not achieved over the first 2 growing seasons from when the replication plan was first implemented, additional replication efforts shall continue in addition of the requirements to submit annual monitoring reports until 75% vegetative growth or greater is achieved. All work related to implementing the wetland replication plan must be overseen by a qualified wetland scientist. I think that's redundant. Coordinate with the conservation agent when the wetland replication plan is first implemented. That's number 5. Number 6, perimeter sediment control should consist of a 12-inch diameter or larger compost filter stock and a properly entrenched silt fence. So that's a silt fence with the bigger...
The 12s instead of the 9s.
Yeah, I think they're typically in like a green color. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. Erosion and sediment control shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and 2, the conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed erosion and sediment controls. Soil stockpile should be securely covered whenever not in use. Soil stockpile should be surrounded by a 12-inch diameter or larger compost filter stock. Conservation Commission signage shall be installed as per the final approved plans. That's signage reference to the, do not disturb signs. Number 10, erosion sediment controls consisting of at least a 12-inch diameter compost filter stock with a properly entrenched silt fence shall also be placed along the outer edges of the wetland replication area. I don't believe that was shown on the final site plan, but basically just encompassing the entire wetland replication area.
Around the replication on the outside?
At the top, yeah, inside. Number 11, erosion sediment controls. So we already discussed this, just extending the erosion and sediment controls along the driveway. Other than that, I do not have any comments. Any other comments?
Are you sure?
all right. This being a public hearing, I will open it up to the public. Or it's already been opened up to the public, and I will, but not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent for Andover Consultants, Inc. on behalf of Kevin O'Brien of O'Brien Homes, Inc., Foster Lane off Poland Ave, Assessors Map 24, Lot 26, DP file number 305-1166, as discussed at this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if we actually, I thought we continued 3.
We tabled 3, didn't we?
We still have the 765 Whipple Road.
Yeah,
So the first 3 that you rattled off were D, H, and O.
yeah, so I don't think we, technically continued M.
Right.
And
On the agenda technically?
It's on the agenda, but I think we
in the past,
historically, yeah.
so Novi arrived for J, so I guess I'll go do these in order. Could I have a motion to continue public hearing, notice of intent, Karen Skinner Catroni on behalf of homeowners, 765 Whipple Road, Assessors Map 31, Lot 57, DP file number 305-1161, to the next available meeting, or when they contact you to actually be here. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to continue to 10/19/2022? Hold on. The full quorum here. All right. Could I have a motion to continue to 10/19/2022, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Wamisit Lanes LLC, 434 Main Street, Assessors Map 22, Lot 69, and address behind 402, 434, and 442 Main Street, DP file number 305-1165.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, I think that's it. Any old business, new business, or admin reports?
New business, right?
Yes. So the new business was, I think there's clearly a need to update our bylaw and associated regulations. I think a few of those instances came up today. As far as, clarifying, like our no-build zone regulations.
What we used to do in the past was be 2 volunteers for a subcommittee. You can't have 3, you only have 2. To review the bylaws.
To review the
Review
bylaws?
the bylaws, come back to the board and say, this is what we found in this bylaw, that we should change this or not change this. You follow me? So you go through each bylaw, and with the 2 years there, whoever it happens to be can sit there and say, oh, we've run across this before, so I think we should change this, or we should keep it the same. And come back to the board, and then you can sit down and have a meeting where, okay, we went through bylaw number 1. We think that we should change it to 100 feet or 50, whatever it happens to be.
Whatever, yeah.
And then the board, the entire board discusses the change.
So, Joe, you already effectively have done that.
Right. So basically, the subcommittee would include him and 2 other people.
And 2 other people.
Who you appoint. You're the chairman, so it's up to you.
So I have gone through the bylaw and have already I've drafted up a revised bylaw with regulations, actually. So we would have both a bylaw which establishes the baseline. So just like any other law, you establish a law and then the regulates enact that law. And the regulations are designed to be more specific and get into the more nitty-gritty of what is allowed and what's not. The bylaw simply establishes, what is concrete as far as, what should and should not be allowed.
But that's why you would have a subcommittee to turn around, because you have the regulatory experience in that, where you and I might not, but we might say, well, listen, if we do this from a regulatory standpoint, how does it affect the resident? You know what I mean? Well, can we substitute something in there for the resident, on behalf of the resident? So that's why yourself and 2 other board members, and then come back to the board and say, okay.
So, would you were planning on sending the bylaw rewrite to everybody?
Right.
So, does it make sense to, instead of sending it to everybody, you send it to 2 people, and that can be the established subcommittee, and then you review it,
Along with Joe.
Yeah, along with Joe, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
It's going to take a little bit more time than the next meeting, because when you have subcommittees, it takes a few meetings to get through. You know, you could actually have 2 subcommittee meetings, but you'd have to be on both.
But what would be the harm of Joe sending
He could send it.
his
to all-
recommendations to
all
everyone,
of
so
us.
everyone could,
Yeah, that's what I was
Take a
thinking.
peeky
Instead
vote,
of
right?
a subcommittee, we all just review the documents and, you know, we can come back and, because it's not like the subcommittee would be rewriting it from scratch. He's already done that. It would just be a review of what he's already done.
Correct.
And then we can all discuss it at the, you know, following, however many meetings it would take. We could,
It will take a few meetings.
you think so? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, is there a general agreement that the bylaw needs to be updated?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. So the way I've drafted this, and this is purely just what I've noticed and would be just my recommendations would be, I feel like there's been a need to update the bylaw in a way that allows for similar exemptions as the WPA. To adopt those, just because it makes it's a reasonable, they're there for a reason, and a lot of it's just like day-to-day, like DPW type of stuff. In addition, like, the RDA process, the bylaw makes it a public hearing. The WPA, it's just a public meeting, it's not a public hearing. So when I'm interacting on a day-to-day basis, you know, I think it's beneficial for the Tewksbury resident to not go through so much of a hassle for, like, hooking up to town sewer. You know, we shouldn't, I don't know, I mean, this is all up to the commission, but, you know, does it make sense to still charge them a $125 filing fee in addition to, they're required by the state to still do the legal notice, so we can't do anything about that, but, you know, we might have some power to make it a little less of a process for projects that have a low likelihood of having a negative impact.
Oh, it's like a project that it has to be done.
I was gonna say,
It's
we
going
can't,
Title V.
It's gotta go somewhere.
we can't stop someone from tying into the sewer when the system has failed, you know?
So, I mean, so for septic hookups, for example, that would still be the same as far as, like, it would be, they would still have to do the RDA, but we can make it as consistent with WPA, because that's, you know, the standard that we have to be held to as possible. So they would still have to do a legal notice, but they potentially, you know, would not have to pay $125. They wouldn't have to notify abutters and go through that. It would just be much quicker, for me anyway, to just.
To not have to do that and then come here to do this. This is all.
Yeah. So anyways.
I agree with that. I like.
Yeah, the objective would be to make it
Streamline it, right?
more in line with WPA. Take the RDA process from a public hearing to a public meeting. And just clarify some of the bylaw stuff. Like the no build zone encroachment stuff, like we just saw that tonight. I think the verbiage there can be improved.
So why don't we do this? If you send everybody a copy of what you have proposed and what the regulatory issues are, each meeting for the next 6 months, like say bylaw number 1, do bylaw number 1, 2, and 3 at one meeting, then go 2, 3, and 4. Because you're gonna sit here and you go through those bylaws, if we did it all in one night, you know, it's gonna be a mess. So I would rather discuss it intermittently and make the changes as we go.
Yeah.
Because if we discuss it all at one time, everybody's gonna get confused. Well, back here it says this, you know?
Would you be opposed to review it not right now, but like review it over the course of the next 2 weeks until the next meeting, and we focus in on the parts, instead of taking it one by one, we focus on the parts that there might be some disagreement or confusion about, instead of, like, if we all agree on the first part, then there's no
If you're
reason
gonna
to
do the
discuss it.
bylaws, like doing an inventory, you're gonna come from left to right and don't miss anything. I would say go right down the list, every single thing. If there's no problem, there's no problem. But then you're gonna eventually, between 5 of us, are gonna say, well, we got to this one here, oh yeah, I see a problem here. You know, we might wanna consider changing that. But if you're gonna hop around to see where the problems are, it's gonna be like the old zoning bylaws, which ended up being changed recently. It's just gonna be a
I don't think we have to take 6 years to
Right.
review this.
But I think we have to take it evenly, so we're not, because you know how long it took them to do the zoning.
Yeah.
It's not gonna take us that long, but if we do it methodically and analyze each bylaw one by one or 2 by 2, but not all 300.
Right, and Joe,
how many there are.
right, Joe fires off his
Right.
recommendations.
And it's only, what, it's 14 pages or how many?
I don't know. It's
It's like
something
14,
around
yeah.
that.
It's not the zoning bylaw, which is
Right.
100 or 200 pages.
Right.
So I just want to say, to Pat's point about, you know, it's like an inventory, you go from left to right, and you don't want to miss anything. That's the approach that I took drafting up a new bylaw and regulation. So although the goal was seemingly simple, I didn't, you know, if I wanted to rewrite the bylaw, I wanted to fix everything that's wrong. So there's, you know, different terms that have been omitted or included. So I think a thorough review of it is needed. And like a lot of the formatting was awful and like just horrible organization.
I think even if we did one bylaw an evening, depending on the load of the commission,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't want to be here till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other point.
Right.
You know, but the other thing too is we know now that we've had some experience with some of these changes. Oh yeah, I remember that. We should change this. And then just write the comments and then discuss the comments of what we should change.
Right, yeah,
it to.
we can finite the language in what we've seen.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
So what I'll be sending out is the current bylaw, the proposed bylaw draft, the proposed regulations draft, and then I also made a document that it summarizes, because there was so much change, it's a table that shows for each section what the major changes were.
Now, do we get you to read this whole thing to us?
Perhaps we should consider just projecting it up.
Yeah.
So when we discuss it, reference, or anybody else can reference.
Give him a warning that we're gonna project it up, okay?
So anything that's continued, please keep as per Conservation Administrative request.
Which one did I?
Good boy, I got my pile separate.
Okay, do we get anything else?
Oh, just signing.
I think we have to close the,
Yeah.
don't we have to close the meeting?
Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.